Hi, it's Mike Phelan from the Dreamcast Junkyard and the author of the A to Z of Dreamcast Games, which is coming out very soon. And you're listening to the SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things SEGA, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for SEGA. Hello, welcome back to the SEGA Lounge podcast. This week's show is episode 193, and you know what? We're fast approaching episode 200, which is quite frankly wild. And I'm not even counting the summer series and bonus episodes we've done over the years. So am I doing something to celebrate this milestone? In a word, yes, but I'm not quite ready to share the details just yet. You'll have to wait and see. That being said, now's a good time to let you know that we'll probably be taking a few weeks off here and there between now and October. If all goes well, we'll hit episode 200 sometime in October, and I hope you can join me then. By the way, I might be doing some live streams on weeks when we don't have a new episode, so be sure to follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/the SEGA Lounge so you don't miss the notifications when I go live. Alternatively, just keep your eyes on our Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called these days. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to focus our attention on this week's guest. This week, I welcome to the SEGA Lounge Mike Phelan, member of the amazing Dreamcast Junkyard crew and collector of Dreamcast games. Mike's here to tell us more about his upcoming guide, The A to Z, or Z, of Dreamcast Games, an in-depth and valuable tool to help fellow collectors. But how well does Mike know his Dreamcast music? We also find that out during another musical challenge. Hello Mike, welcome. Welcome to the SEGA Lounge.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Enjoying talking about the Dreamcast. I'm looking forward to, as always, talking about the console at length. Yeah,
it's hard to escape talking about the Dreamcast on this show as well. It's really, really hard. Always comes back to the Dreamcast somehow. So really excited to talk about your project. But let's start from the very beginning, as we usually do on this show. So how did you get into gaming, Mike?
So I got into gaming with a small handheld, I think it was Scramble, LCD game back in like mid-80s, I suppose. And then I got given a ZX Spectrum. And then I traded my Spectrum when I was about 9, 10 for a Master System. And ever since then, pretty much been a SEGA fan. Had a bit of a gap during the Saturn era, and was a PC gamer mainly, but then picked up on the Dreamcast straight away, and then since then, just been a SEGA fan through and through, really.
Okay. I also had a gap during the Saturn era, but didn't move to anything else, just full-on break from games.
a lot of us did, I think. I think a lot of people did. It seems like a lot of people had that sort of era, late 90s, was a bit of a gap for everyone, so I've made up for lost time with Saturn gaming since, which is another favourite of my consoles. But at the time it was more PC gaming, which was really lucky for me because it was the golden era of PC gaming, in my opinion, and just the quality of games that came through. So that's shaped my gaming interests since. Old school Sega and sort of PC games from the late 90s is my forte.
Excellent. Okay. And so obviously you came back to consoles with the Dreamcast?
So I had I was on a PC forum back in sort of late 90s, and I worked my first job actually was just before the Dreamcast came out. So I picked up a Dreamcast with pretty much my second payslip. First payslip was for a PC. Second payslip was for a Dreamcast. So I had a Dreamcast through the lifetime of the console. Right the way up until probably 2003 was my main console. Before I jumped ship to the Xbox. But it's Dreamcast. I mean, I think Sonic was the big draw for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic was game changing back in the 90s for me, and I think it was again the same for Sonic Adventure. I think the quality of the trailer for the game really drew me into wanting a Dreamcast.
Yeah, definitely. Same. Exactly the same, yeah. Was it the first, you bought a PC, but was it the first console that you ever bought with your own money, the Dreamcast?
Yes, it would have been, yeah. Yeah, it would have been the first console I bought, yeah. Both Mega Drive and Master System would have been either traded or gifts, yeah.
Yeah, so same here. The first ever console that I ever bought with my own money. So that's also another reason why it's special for me. The Dreamcast, yeah. Excellent. And so, Sonic Adventure definitely really drew me in as well. So, in terms of, until that point, would you say Sonic was like the big Sega IP that drew you into Sega consoles, Sega systems?
Sonic would have been... I'm not sure, to be honest. I think the reason I got into Sega games in the first place would have been just the aesthetics.
Okay.
Overall, I think that blue sky aesthetic for Sega games is very enticing when you're young, especially. And I think it was just very different. And I think that was the same reason why I picked up on Sonic Adventure, because of the fact that it was so different than what I was playing at the time. I was playing very much sort of dystopian sci-fi games or sort of futuristic games, which were quite dark and quite dull in colour. And Sonic Adventure had that blast of colour, which we hadn't really seen that much in the 5 years previous. Mm-hmm. The early 3D world of the Saturn and PlayStation, I think, was very much sort of a bit of a dull, realistic world. So that colour... was great. And I think, the Sonic itself, I mean, in the 90s, it was cool, wasn't it? Especially the early 90s in my school. It was just something very different, very colourful, very bright.
Mm, for sure. Okay. So how and why did you become such a big Dreamcast fan? Because if you're part of the Dreamcast Junkyard team, as I know you are, it's because you're a big fan of the console, of the system. What is it about the Dreamcast that makes you such a fan of it?
So for me, I think it's just a series of events which have sort of pointed to me to the Dreamcast is my destiny. I'll explain, because that sounds a bit weird. So when I had the console, it was very much sort of the console I had in the background, as it were. I wasn't a massive fan. It was just a gaming system. I then moved away with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and I had a period of time, the only period of time in my life where I had no job, and the Dreamcast was the only thing I brought with me, and it became quite a big thing for me at the time, and we had an experience of playing through Shenmue, and I think that 1 week period where we basically played it almost as an escape from the boringness of life, just made me love the console more, or maybe realise why I loved it. And then after that, I got rid of that Dreamcast for various reasons. And then with my now wife, a couple of years after that, we were walking past Game Station, a former retail shop in the UK, and we saw a Dreamcast in the window with Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2. I'd always wanted to play Shenmue 2. I never played it at the time. And it was like, I think it was £30, a ridiculous price. And I bought it. And at that point, I was really trying to collect retro consoles and retro games. I was really into the sort of retro vibe. And at one point, I had 120 consoles and about 3,000 games.
Okay.
And I just realised, and it was all cheap. I mean, at the time, I was going to shops in Bristol to 20p for a game. It was ridiculous. But I had that, and it wasn't really satisfying me. So I wanted to focus on something. And I tried to focus on getting a PAL set for the Dreamcast. because it was a console I always liked, and it was a game, lots of games on there which are really favourites of mine. And that just basically spiralled into me realising that the console was the only real console I needed, and really had a real passion for. And so I started collecting a worldwide set, which is what then started me on my collecting odyssey, as it were, since.
Okay. Where are you right now with that?
I have 2 Japanese games to get, and that's it.
Okay. Amazing.
Which is there's a series of web-only games in Japan which were released. I'm trying to pronounce the name now without butchering it. Is it Gran no Capital? Gran no Capital, I think it's called. And I've got volume 6 of it, and I've got volume 1 and 2 and 3. I just haven't got volume 4 and 5, and they're quite expensive. So that's the only ones I haven't got, and I've got about 150 games versions I need across the different regions. So I'm at about 1,300 games in total at the moment.
Okay. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. It's a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Dreamcast game? Or, if you prefer, top 5, top 3, whatever.
Yeah, so my top 3's pretty much stayed the same for a few years now. So I did the top 200 games for the Dreamcast Junkyard a couple of years ago, and I spent a lot of time looking at what my actual favourite games were, and the top 3 have pretty much stayed the same. So Zero Gunner 2, superb Psycho shoot 'em up, fantastic game, just a beginner's favourite, I suppose, a game which you haven't got to be a shooter master to enjoy. Mm-hmm. Le Mans 24 Hour. I love racing games, and I love the Codemasters racing games that have been in the last couple of generations, and for me, Le Mans is the closest feel to that on the Dreamcast. Absolutely adore that game. And of course Shenmue. Shenmue is, I think it's more than the game. I think it's the only game I've ever really encountered where the passion it instills in people is just amazing. Life-changing game for me. Just superb. Before I played Shenmue, I had no interest in Japanese culture. I had no interest in Japanese games, really. The entire experience of playing Shenmue, and then the time of playing Shenmue 2 since as well, as for me it's a gaming masterpiece. Probably for me one of my favourite games on any console. Just superb. There's loads of other ones that are close. I love V-Rally. I think it's a really good game, underrated I think by some people. Obviously Sonic Adventure. But you've got things like, I really enjoy Cannon Spike. I've been playing Cannon Spike recently. Mm-hmm. Very short game, but really good fun. And there's loads of others. I mean, that's the thing with Dreamcast. There's so many games to play, and there's the quality compared to, the top quality compared to low quality is quite a good ratio for Dreamcast. So there's probably a good 150 games I would happily say I really enjoy. So, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Some great picks there. And I see you lean a little bit towards the racing side of things as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's nice. It's not often that I have a guest that's it's not really my preferred genre either.
Yeah.
But I've come to appreciate, especially more old school racers in recent years, and because now you try modern games and it's all about the graphics and the glitter, etc. But the old school games are usually more about the gameplay, the feel. You have the more arcadey ones, the more semi kind of ones. So I've come to appreciate them more recently than I had before.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, I've always enjoyed racing games. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Micro Machines 2 and 96 and Military on the Mega Drive. I think they're probably the highest gameplay of any game I've ever played, and I love the game. I still play it now. And then after that, I sort of got into 3D racing a little bit, and it was, for me, it's just I'm not a petrol head. I'm not a big sort of car fan. I don't drive actually, weirdly enough.
Okay.
But for me, it's it's the purest form of sporting game. I view it more as a sports game than an actual racer, because it's that competitive nature of it. So that's why I like Le Mans for. It's that real sort of sport level where you start, back of a grid and you sort of build yourself up to this, being able to conquer your competitors. I'm a massive fan of rallying games as well. Myself and Tom Charnock, the founder of Dreamcast Junkyard, we had a rally podcast for a while. I absolutely love rally games, again, because it's you against something. To me, it's almost like the arcade form from 30 years ago. It's it's just you against the computer or the stage or the environment. So yeah, I love racing games. We had a pretty good amount on Dreamcast as well, which is nice. But yeah, racing games from mid-90s onwards, I would say, have been my main genre, and still is now, actually.
Okay, yeah. I think looking back, I mean, on the Mega Drive, I played Super Hang-On, which came with the console. Yeah. It's like part of the Mega Games 1 pack.
That's what I had as well, yeah.
Yeah. Played probably Outrun at some point, I think. Yeah. But then I don't think I had anything else in terms of driving games or racing games. Played Daytona USA on the arcade. And then what really was different kind of experience for me, because I had never played any kind of game like that, was Metropolis Street Racer on the Dreamcast, which was totally different from the more arcadey like experience, perhaps. Was a little bit harder as well. You had like the kudos system. You could get points, lose points, so it was a little bit trickier than just a pure like pick up and play arcade experience. So that was probably the turning point in terms of me appreciating other types of racing games. But I'm more leaning towards the arcade type of racing games, even to this day. So, but yeah, so I just have a little problem with you saying, and I quote on Dreamcast Year 2, Le Mans is quite possibly the best Dreamcast racing game ever released, and you can tell MSR has said that. I have a problem with this.
I love MSR. I played MSR when it came out, and it's a great game. But for me, with MSR, Project Gotham Racing did what it did so much better.
Okay.
By the time it got to PGR4, I think it was so much better, the core concept. Whereas Le Mans, it's so simple in terms of the fact, you're racing this endurance race. I know there's some other tracks as well, but the core of it is so simple, and everything is almost stripped down. So it's just a pure racing experience. Whereas MSR, I think, did a lot of stuff which was a little bit, didn't quite work. I mean, the kudos system is great, but it isn't as refined as it was in the later series of the games.
For sure. Yeah.
So for me, I think playing Project Gotham Racing, and I played PGR2 as my first game on the Xbox, actually. Playing that, I think, has maybe dampened my experience of MSR. But it's still a great game. I mean, what it did for racing was revolutionary. I mean, Gran Turismo is always held up as this revolutionary game, and it was. But MSR just changed the landscape completely, in my opinion. And what it did and the environments it was, presented was just, you go back now 23 years, it's extraordinary. The leap. When 23 years ago, we had a game which today it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it looks pretty good today.
But it still looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. 5 years before that, we had Virtua Racing. I mean, the change of how much of a change it was. And Sega was at the forefront of that. And that was what I think was so exciting and exhilarating at the time, was how much Sega changed things. Again, as a PC game at the time, I sort of missed a little bit of that on the consoles. But when I had the PC, I was very much, PC is much better than consoles. And if you compare PC games in the late 90s to Saturn games, it is leaps and bounds ahead on a PC. But then when the Dreamcast came around and we had these videos of Sonic Adventure and Soul Calibur and Shenmue and Daytona, Crazy Taxi.
Oh, yeah.
The games they just looked amazing, and they looked like arcade games in the home. So, yeah, for me, I love MSR. I'm never gonna say MSR is a bad game, but I think Le Mans is still the best racing game on Dreamcast.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. The interview is over. Okay, bye, Mike. No, it's fine. It's fine. So fast forward to let's say just a few years. We're still young teenagers today in 2023, and you're now working on a very special project, which is, I believe, finished, right?
Yes, pretty much so. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. So, would you care to tell us what this guide is and how the idea for it came about?
Yeah. So the entire idea about it came about from me basically wanting to keep track of my collection. So back in 2011, 2012, I was setting on my path of collecting. Lots of websites out there with lists, but there was a lot of contradictory information. There wasn't necessarily a list of all of the different European versions, which I wanted to sort of get into as well. So I just created basically a real basic list. As I was doing it, I was also reviewing games at the time, sort of just something to do. So I was reviewing games and just short reviews, and I sort of compiled them together. And then the list was getting more and more, and it was getting more advanced as I learned more stuff. And in 2015, I contacted Tom Charnock, Dreamcast Junkyard, and said, "Look, Tom, I've got this list going. I've been viewing the Dreamcast Junkyard for a long time before that. Do you want to have a look at the list and sort of see what you think about it?" Tom really liked it, and so we actually produced a printed collector's guide, which basically was a very extravagant list of all the games.
Yeah.
Which we sold, and the long saga of us basically having a cease and desist from SEGA.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, for various reasons. But we had a really good and really receptive outcome to it. So I didn't think it was much. I thought it was a list. I thought that's what it was. So I was quite surprised by the outcome we had. And I basically said to a couple of the guys in the Junkyard at the time, I'm going to set out now to review every game and put it into a proper guide so that every listing for every game is there, but also a short review, some basic stats and stuff. And I did that. I did that over the next 3 years. And in 2018, I released it as a PDF. It was okay. It was about 500 pages long. A fair bit of stuff in there, but the response to that, and the response was very positive, but the response after that was about doing a printed copy. I wanted to make sure that I had everything correct in the guide. There was lots of facts I know was wrong. I'm not an expert. I'm not someone who's going to be the oracle of everything Dreamcast. So I talked to several people, spent a lot of time improving it. A couple of years ago, I released an updated PDF, which had a few more box shots, so every single game had a box shot cover on it as well. And basically, in the last year and a half, I've been wanting to do that as a printed guide and sell a limited number of guides. And I sort of stalled a little bit after COVID, changed my job, work nights now, so a bit more of a bit more stressful the job, so
yeah, of course.
I had a bit of a back burner, and then since then so Lewis Cox, who's now runs Dreamcast Junkyard, and a few other people as well, have come on board to help me edit it and get it correct and get it all basically all fixed and ready for printing. So the A to Z of Dreamcast Games will hopefully be out within the next month or so, and it basically covers every single game. So the point of it isn't a nice glossy picture book. It's not a picture book.
Okay.
It's also not a really in-depth retrospective of each Dreamcast game. It's a short review of each game with a full listing of every version of that game that was released. Mm-hmm. So it's mainly for collectors. And I know that not everyone sees himself as a collector, but for me, I wanted to make something so that people who wanted to go on that Dreamcast journey would have a real, hopefully, informative guide for them to look at. So it's got all that in it. It also got a little bit of a sort of collector's help on the end of it as well. So sort of sharing my experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what the guide is.
Excellent. So the Dreamcast Junkyard presents the A to Z of Dreamcast Games, a collector's guide. Okay.
Yes.
And it's 100% unofficial. It says there.
It's 100% unofficial.
On the top corner. So please don't come at us, right? Sega.
Yeah, I mean, Sega. I could talk a lot about the whole issue first time, but I think, we want to just make it sure it's not going to get anything from Sega affecting it. I mean, I don't want the book to be for profit. It's not going to be sort of sold at a profit for me. I will basically sell it to people at the cost of printing, and that's it. I have no interest whatsoever in making money for it. It is genuinely something I just wanted to do as a hobby to start with. But the response I've had and the sort of reception I get on Twitter or whatever name that he's calling it at the current time is really good. So I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to give people a printed guide. It's a hefty guide. 526 pages, so it's not necessarily a.
How many?
Guide,
sorry,
526.
Okay, I thought it was actually bigger because you have like the picture on your Twitter, X, whatever profile, and it's very thick. So
it's a thick book. Yeah, it's a thick book. It's quite. It's only A3 size, just A3 size paper.
Okay.
But yeah, it's quite hefty, but it looks a little bit nicer now than it was before. So those people who bought that first guide from Dreamcast Junkyard 8 years ago, it's not quite as basic as that. It's still not going to be quite as advanced or as professional as something like Chris Scullion's book, which is coming out quite soon, Dreamcast Encyclopedia, or Andrew Dickinson's Dreamcast Years books, which I also write in, by the way, just a bit of a plug there. But it's not quite as good as those two, professional-wise, but it never has meant to be. I come from a punk background, and my aesthetic is very much sort of DIY, do-it-yourself stuff. Quite, I suppose, basic stuff. And that's the sort of ethos behind me doing it. It's not going to be something which is super professional.
And it's supposed to be used, right? So it's not really...
Exactly.
It looks nice if you want to put it on the shelf, of course, but it's something that's meant to be practical, useful, that people can actually use to take with them on that Dreamcast journey that you were talking about before, right?
100%, yeah. So the first guide we printed, I mean, I've had loads and loads of response from people who have basically used that guide and have ticked off games. Josh Fairhurst from Limited Run Games has mentioned the fact that he's used a guide to collect Dreamcast games. So that's for me, that's the only thing I wanted. If one person has used a guide and helped them, for me, that's all the time I've spent worth it. But yeah, definitely, it's a book to be written in. It's a book to have tick boxes ticked off on when you find games. It's not, for me, it's not a book where you put on a shelf and then leave it. It's very much something to help people collect. So I think there's a bit of a hang up with some people, I think, with collectors, that sort of named collectors. This idea that people collect games and put them on a shelf and don't play them.
Sometimes. Some do that, but not
They
all.
do, 100%. Yeah, 100% they do. And I think that's for me, you can be a collector and a gamer as well. I mean, I've got the massive amount of games, but everything I have in my collection is unsealed. Everything in my collection is played or looked at. I've got vinyl, I've got CDs, soundtracks. Everything is played or looked at. It has to be enjoyed. There is an enjoyment from having things on shelves, and I get that. But I wanted people to have that ability to be a collector, be someone who really collects the games and really gets into what the games are, but also plays them. It's very easy, especially in the days of virtual devices and things like GDEMU and things like that. It's very easy to have a list of games and not really experience those games.
Yeah.
If you go on a hunt for games and collect them, you actually find things you wouldn't have found before. And for me, that's part of the fun. So yeah, hopefully the guide will be helpful for people.
Makes sense. So people can expect all Dreamcast games, right?
Yeah.
All of them mentioned, reviewed.
Yes.
Right? And box art shorts for all of them as well, or for some.
Yep, so every single version of every single game has the box shot on it, yeah. So that's every single game, including Japanese versions. American versions. If there's any variants, limited editions. I think in total there's, I don't actually know the number, I should have known the number really, but I think it's around 1,200 versions. And it also includes all retail released indie games.
Okay, so that was my next question, yeah.
Yeah, so every indie game, right from the days of the Goat Store releasing, Cool Herders and the games in the early days, right the way up to the last one, which is included, which is Driving Strikers.
Okay.
Okay. They're all included, all the versions included, and reviewed as well. The reviews are actually longer for the indie games because, I mean, you can go online and find 1,000 reviews for Crazy Taxi. You can't find 1,000 reviews for, I don't know,
Intrepid Easy, perhaps.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's I've done a bit more work on the indie games, but I'm also a massive fan of the indie scene anyway. I think the indie scene on Dreamcast is superb. Mm-hmm. It's much maligned by some people that it's not full of 3D games, but I think the games that we have are just real good fun. Xeno Crisis for me, which is still the best indie game, is. I genuinely think it's one of the most enjoyable games I've played on any console ever. So, yeah. Yeah,
for sure. And it's been made available on everything under the sun, right? Like on every system right now, I think.
Yeah, I think Super Nintendo hasn't it been next for as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So you can actually play it on anything. If you own something, there's Xeno Crisis for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, me and Tom at Junkyard, I think we take a little bit of pride in the fact that we're both thanked in the credits for the game because Tom provided twin sticks for the Dreamcast version, and I provided the fighting controller. So they tested it on them. So both of us got a shout out, and I mean, it's just and we're in the game as well. So you can actually save me in the game, which many people have posted screenshots to me on Twitter saying that they've saved me in the game.
I didn't know that.
I've never found myself yet, and I've played a lot of it, so I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But great game.
But other people have, so it's
yes,
true.
Exactly. Some people have saved me. I'm sure some people have shot me as well, probably. But that's not the matter.
So what you're saying is that you're an acquired taste. Right?
I am acquired taste. That's certainly something you can describe. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, about both the guide and the indie scene, because it's something that I also like to ask people when they come on the show to talk about Dreamcast. But I think it's time, Mike. You've sort of already feeling relaxed right now. You've opened up a little bit, so it's time to present you with something we like to do on the show called the Sega Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for, and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the Sega Lounge Challenge.
Okay, that was a nice reaction. Okay, so what is the Dreamcast challenge? The Sega Lounge Challenge. It's something different every week, usually. And so you're working on an A to Z or A to Z guide of Dreamcast games. So I thought I'd present you with a somewhat similar challenge, but in audio form. Okay. So how familiar are you with the soundtracks to Dreamcast games?
I've got about 2,000 songs on my my Windows Media Player that I've downloaded, so I'm pretty familiar.
Okay. And so how well do you think you know them? Do you know them to the point of recognizing them from just a short 10-second long clip?
I can give it a go. If I fail, I'm going to be the scorn of the junkyard. But yeah, I can give it a go.
No, you won't. Andrew Dickinson's been on the show twice. Other people have been on the show. I don't know. It's always a tricky one. So I have 10 10-second long clips of Dreamcast games. To make it a little bit easier, they are all either Sega developed or published. So no third-party games here.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clips. If you want to, I can give you the letter. If you're like feeling really, really, you just don't know what it is at all, I can give you the letter, the first letter of the game.
Sure. Okay.
As a hint.
Yep.
So, do you want to do this in order or pick a number and just go from there? They're numbered 1 to 10.
In order. Yep, let's do it in order.
Okay. So, Mike, ready for number 1?
I'm ready.
No, you're not. Let's go with number 1.
Okay.
And that's 10 seconds.
Okay. I mean, it sounds a little bit like the opening music of 18 Wheeler, but it's got a little bit of a rock vibe to it. I probably know it, but I'm going to go for F355 challenge. I don't know.
Okay. So final answer is...
Yeah, let's go for F355 challenge, yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure in the slightest, but I'm gonna go for it.
So should I lock it in, Mike?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, it's locked in.
Okay.
Before I tell you if it's right or wrong, why did you think about 18 Wheeler?
Because it sounded like the music on the menu screen, but then I listened to it a bit more. It sounded like maybe one of the tracks from F355. If it's going to be 18 Wheeler, I'm going to look a fool, which is fine.
It is fine, yes. Because it is 18 Wheeler, yes.
Brilliant.
It's the first stage. Stage 1, Wake You Up.
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
I thought, oh, this man is amazing. He like gave me 18 Wheeler seconds after we heard the song, but no. Okay, it's okay.
I'll go with my gut next time, I think.
Always go with your gut. That's the secret to this. Okay, so 1 down, but we have 9 to go. Can we get? Okay. I think 5 is a good number. So if we can get more than that, I think we're yeah. So ready for number 2?
Yes.
Okay. Song number 2.
Wow. I mean, I don't know what it is straight off, but my first gut answer was going to be from Station Square in Sonic Adventure, so I don't think it is, but it sounds like the Christmas DLC music from Sonic Adventure. Is it, or is it Blue Stinger? Is it Blue Stinger? You know what? I'm going to go for Blue Stinger.
Why?
I don't. If it's Sonic Adventure again,
no. I'm just saying why. I'm just asking why.
It sounds like when you're in the sort of shops and there's Christmas music in the background. It's kind of a bit Christmassy to me. There's a bit of a jingle in the background. So, I'm gonna go for Blue Stinger.
Final answer, right?
It's my final answer. Yep.
Final answer. Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike. It is! Yes, it's
Yay.
Blue Stinger. Yes, it's the ending to Blue Stinger. It's part of the ending song. Okay, good job. Nice save there. Yeah, well done. Okay, 1 point. Nice. Let's go with number 3. Ready?
Yep. Wow. That does not ring a bell. It's definitely a Japanese Sega game, I think. I don't know. Doesn't ring a bell. I am gonna go for. Ooh, what could that be? Actually,
Where would this fit?
I don't know. It sounds like a sort of. It sounds like a menu music of a sports game, but I couldn't.
Something a little bit quirky, perhaps. No.
A little bit quirky.
Maybe.
It's a little bit quirky. There's a lot of games on Dreamcast that are quirky.
Yeah.
It's not Space Channel 5. It's too downbeat. I think not downbeat at all. But I don't think it's Space Channel 5. It's not Samba. Oh, is it Samba? No, it can't be Samba. I don't know. So I'm gonna completely guess something. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess. Oh, I'm trying to get Sega games now. I'm gonna guess. Let's go for. It's definitely not House of the Dead. I don't know what I thought that for. Let's go for. Let's go for Sonic Adventure. It's definitely not Sonic Adventure, but.
Or is it?
Yeah, well, you never know.
You never know. Well, I do.
Yeah, you do know. That's true. Yeah.
And it's not. It's Choo Choo Rocket.
Of course.
It's definitely quirky, right? It's a challenge mode theme for Choo Choo Rocket. Yeah. Okay.
What? It's not the first song that comes to mind when Choo Choo Rocket, is it? It's that iconic menu. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that would be too easy. So.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think the next one actually is easy. I think quite easy. Let's see. Number 4.
Territory is a territory. Territory is a territory. Territory is a territory. Territory is a territory.
Okay. I mean, the song doesn't ring a bell. However, it sounds like. I'd be amazed if it's not, but it sounds like Jet Set Radio. It sounds like one of those kind of songs. Yeah, let's go Jet Set Radio.
It was like very quick. Very fast answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic soundtrack, isn't it? It's not my sort of music, so it's not the kind of thing I'd listen to that much, but it's an iconic sound. So I again, it's not one of the famous songs from the soundtrack, but to me, I can't think of anything else which would sort of fit it. It's got that sort of extreme sports vibe to it. So Sega published on Dreamcast wouldn't be anything else apart from maybe Sega Extreme Sports. But no, I think Jet Set Radio.
Okay. That's what your gut feeling is saying, right?
That's my gut feeling.
So, and your answer is... Well, before I tell you, the title of the song is Funky Radio.
There we go. That's definitely Jet Set Radio.
Is it?
Oh,
it is, yes. Good job. So, 2 points.
Good.
Okay. Let's see, number 5. Oh, this is a very interesting one. You'll either get it immediately or not get it at all, I think. Let's take a listen.
So then we went to celebrate, got back home at 8:30. Then we went to bed to procreate.
As you do.
Wow. So the only game I can think of which would have a diverse enough soundtrack to have a country song on it I don't think it has a country radio station. Oh no, that's not Sega published. I mean, I don't know.
I think you were going in the right direction.
Oh, you haven't heard my answer yet. I think MSR would possibly have a radio station which is like that. San Francisco radio station would probably have a country song. Yeah, let's go for MSR.
So you think MSR, so which is a Sega published title, right?
Yes.
Not developed but published, would have a song about procreating. In bed.
I mean, not necessarily. You say it now.
I'm just asking a simple and innocent question.
I mean, my immediate
It's up
thought
to you
was
to give me the answer. So
it sounded like a GTA song, but I obviously GTA is not Sega published on the Dreamcast. Headhunter is. I don't think it was. There was a bit of satire in Headhunter. Could it be Headhunter? No, I'm going to stick with MSR because it's going to be wrong probably, but I'm going to stick with MSR.
So MSR, Metropolis Street Racer,
Yeah.
would have a song called Long, Long Road
Yeah.
about going to bed and procreating. Well, it's not really about that, but okay. But it features that part. Yes, it would. It would.
Yay.
Yes.
I mean, the entire time, I know MSR's got an amazing soundtrack, but the entire time I've played that game, I've listened to one song on repeat. So the only song I've ever listened to is Fallen Angel. It's the only song I ever listened to, because I have other CDs in the background. She's my Fallen Angel.
She's my brand new car. You think he's talking about a girl, but it's a car.
Yeah, I mean, that song's a little bit out there as well, actually. That soundtrack is a little bit, interesting.
Yeah. I remember listening to that and, oh yeah, it's about a girl. Yeah, he's the love of his life. And she's my brand new car. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So 3 points. We only need 2 more. And we have 5 songs that we're halfway there. So let's go for number 6. Shall we?
Yeah. Okay, that's a little bit generic. I don't know. I'm going to guess Fantasy Star Online.
Why?
Has that sort of slightly fantasy sci-fi sound that I imagine Sega would put onto a game like Fantasy Star Online. I don't remember the soundtrack from Fantasy Star Online at all. So I would, let's go Fantasy Star Online.
Let's.
Good stuff.
That's it. Good job. It is Fantasy Star Online. Yes, that's like the feel of a Fantasy Star Online song. Yeah, even if it's a little bit, you can't really recognize it maybe, but it is. It's called A Song for Eternal Story.
Yeah, it sounds like an MMORPG. It sounds like that sort of quite, I don't know, welcoming sound. Weird sound.
Yeah. Okay, good job. 4 points. Can we get one more? Can we get 8 points? Wait,
let's try.
4. Yeah, we can get 8.
Yeah.
8 is possible. Yeah. Yes, it is possible. So number 7. Ready?
Yep. My immediate thought was Rez, but then I don't think Rez is. I can't think of anything. I've played Rez a lot. I don't think it's Rez. I think it's Headhunter. Yeah, it's still wanting me to think Rez, but I just can't. I can't place that within the game. You know what? I'm only here once. Let's go for Rez. Let's do it. Let's do Rez.
So I don't even need to bother inviting you again because you're only here once. So I get that.
It depends what I score at the end of this. No, Rez. I think Rez.
Rez.
Yeah, I mean, that was my immediate thought. So Rez.
So just go with your gut feeling. That's it. Area 4.
Excellent.
Area 4.
Is it? Cool.
Yes.
I don't get there very often, so that's probably why.
Okay. Good job. 5 points. So that means 8 points is still possible. Let's go with number 8. Okay,
yep.
Number 8.
Shenmue.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Final answer.
Yeah.
Okay. No words needed.
One of the greatest soundtracks of all time.
For sure. And we always need some Shenmue every week on the show, so there's your
100%,
Shenmue.
yeah.
There's your Shenmue. Okay, 2 songs left. Track 9.
Sonic Adventure 2? No, it's Sonic Adventure. It's Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure.
Why?
I mean, it's definitely Sonic. I mean, it's the...
Is it?
It's the... Yeah, 100%. 100%. Gotta be. I'm getting confident now, you see. I'm getting cocky. No, it's definitely Sonic Adventure. It's definitely Sonic. It ain't Shuffle. There's no way that's on Shuffle. That'd be the most exciting thing about the entire game if it was. Sonic Adventure 2... I don't know. It sounds like a remix version of the song from Sonic Adventure 1. I mean, that's definitely the sound of Sonic Adventure 1. But I'm going to go for Sonic Adventure 2. I think it's a reworked version. Sonic Adventure 2. My final answer.
What a roller coaster of emotions. Okay.
Yeah.
So your final answer is Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
Ah, Mike. It is, yes.
Cool.
It is. Metal Harbor. That's the way I like it, is the name of the song, for Metal Harbor.
Cool. Excellent.
Sonic Story, or Hero Story. Good
Yeah.
job. Okay, so this is our final song.
Yeah.
And this is the point in the game where I tell you, just as a hint if you want to, that all songs, because you chose to go in order, all games have been in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Okay? Not sure if you noticed it or not, but it's true.
Yeah.
And that's true for the final song as well. So
Okay.
Sonic Adventure 2 was the last one, so it has to be something from SON forward. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Final song. And this is where it gets tricky. Or not.
So I mean, it's definitely a sort of horror-based game. It sounds like it's one of my favorite games of all time. I suppose it depends whether you put the alphabetically onto whether it's the House of the Dead 2 or the Typing of the Dead. I think that's probably it's not Ill Bleed, which wasn't, I think, SEGA published anyway.
Unless it's with a Y. Which is no. It's not.
Don't say that. I'm trying to think of anything else which would be later on. No, my immediate thought was Typing of the Dead. Yeah, Typing of the Dead.
Why, by the way?
It's got that unmistakable. It could be Zombie Revenge. Oh no. It's definitely a sort of a SEGA horror themed game. What it sounds like. It's my immediate thought would be House of the Dead 2, but I think alphabetically it probably would be an H for that. So
I would
it's gonna be
probably
sort-
put it, if I'm being honest, the would probably be under T.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Just saying. Probably.
Could it be Zombie Revenge? Could it be Zombie? I mean, it's the same sort of music, Zombie
Could
Revenge,
be.
as
Could be.
the other two.
Could be one of the other two as well.
Yeah.
Could be anything after S.
I'm trying to think whether Typing of the Dead's got the same soundtrack as House of the Dead, actually. I think it does. No, my immediate thought was House of the Dead, so I'm going to go House of the Dead. House of the Dead. 2.
Final answer.
Yes.
Final answer is The House of the Dead 2,
Yes.
which we would categorize under T.
Yes.
If it had been here, which it's not. It's Zombie Revenge. Revenge.
See? Unbelievable.
So close.
Yeah.
But even the ones that you didn't get, you were very close. Maybe from Choo Rocket, but even then we were close. You were close. So good job. That was amazing. Very good, Mike. Very good.
You.
Well done.
Thank you.
So that means you get the official Sega Lounge seal of approval, which is a thing.
Excellent.
And I will send to you afterwards. Yes, it is. It
Good
is
stuff.
a real thing. Okay, so thank you for taking part in our challenge. Hope it was enjoyable.
Yep.
Somewhat.
It was stressful but enjoyable. Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're going for. So before I let you go, so you mentioned the indie scene in terms of Dreamcast. So pretty much keeping the Dreamcast alive all these years later, which is something amazing. Is there anything specific or any game specifically? You already mentioned Zero Crisis, but maybe of the more recent ones, anyone that got you really excited, or even one that hasn't come out yet that's really getting you excited about playing it?
I mean, there's been quite a few, to be fair, but for me, I think Driving Strikers is going to be a massive game. That's going to be something which I think is going to be just another shot on the arm for Dreamcast indie games. I've also loved a game called Witching Hour, which is it's a Wolfenstein 3D mod, which had a very, very limited amount of copies produced with the creators' approval. And it's real basic, but it's got a real nice dungeon synth vibe to it, which is the sort of music I'm into anyway. So, a real good horror game. Other games, I mean, there's so many at the current time. Tapeworm Disco Puzzle, by the same guy who did Flea. Superb game. Really fun, enjoyable puzzle title. The Text Assist, which had the potential to be probably the best indie game on a Dreamcast. They messed up the launch and released a game which was bugged, so no one could actually complete it. But they've actually fixed it now with new discs, and that is a superb game. It's a mix between Type of the Dead and Ikaruga. It's bizarre, but works amazingly well.
I don't think I was aware of that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think because the launch was so bungled, it was such an awful launch, and you couldn't complete past level 2. That I think everyone sort of forgot about it. But the actual game is just unbelievable. It's literally like playing Type of the Dead, and you play a priest. It's like a sort of rip off of The Exorcist almost. And you play this priest, and basically you've got to cast Latin spells, which basically you've got to dodge bullet hell. So it's basically a Karuga or a cave game crossed with Type of the Dead. It sounds absolutely insane, but it works beautifully well. So for me, that's probably the champion game in terms of the last couple of years. But there's so many games. I mean, there's an upcoming game section in the guide. I'm constantly updating it with new games. Obviously, we've got things like Paprium coming out next year, allegedly. Allegedly being very much the word there. But also, we know we've got a couple of other NES Maker games. We've had a bit of a spate of NES Maker games in the last few years coming across. We've got another one coming across, Game Boy Zero X, I think it is, from Nape Games. But we also had quite exciting news in the indie scene, if you can call it that, the last couple of weeks, which is Isotope Software have basically been putting videos of Hypertension, which is a horror-based first-person shooter game from about 10 years ago, which I literally had edited out of the guide because I thought it was never going to come out, so I said it was never going to come out. And then literally the day after, they've posted a video of the game running, so that's a fun experience to have. But yeah, there's so many games. I think what's even more exciting is actually the games which we don't know yet. Yeah. Wave Game Studios have some games in the works I know which are going to be absolutely incredible. Okay. And there's other games which Bitmap Bureau, who did Xeno Crisis, their next game, hopefully. Retro Summers did Xenocider. I mean, the games we could have are just really, really exciting. Yeah. And obviously with the whole, I forget the name, but the development software now, which has been created by Luke Benstead, I think it was.
Yeah.
There's going to be loads more indie games coming out, so really exciting times.
Yeah, Harley Quest as well.
Yes, of course, yeah. I've got Harley Quest, superb game, yeah.
So, great games, great time. Which leads me to the next question, which is, how are you going to deal with these next few launches? Are you planning on releasing an updated version of the guide at some point? This is just like a one and done kind of deal, and this is the definitive version. Whatever comes next, someone else takes care of it. How are you planning on dealing with it?
So basically, the plan will be to obviously release the printed guide and the online guide. So there'll be a PDF version which is free, and that will be updated constantly. So every game which gets released will get added to that. And that will be free for everybody as well. And then at some point, if there was enough interest, it will just depend how many people want the guide in the first place. I may very well do a second copy printing or second version. It's the thing with Dreamcast; it's never ending. I mean, at 526 pages now. I think within the next 3 years, we probably got to 534, 536 pages. So there's a massive amount of games out there, and it's not looking at slowing down anytime soon.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So how can people get a hold of this guide in physical form? So obviously there's the PDF version, but, we're here to talk about the brand new physical version. So how can people get that?
So nothing's been finalised yet in terms of how we're going to sell it. So the best way of keeping an eye on it is basically to follow me on Twitter or X, or again Elon Musk's pet project name.
Yes. We'll see what it's called in a month or so. Yeah.
So if I'm still on there, if they haven't decided to delete everybody,
still up.
It's at Dreamcast Pics. So Dreamcast and then PICS. That's probably the best place, or follow Dreamcast Junkyard. Because we will obviously talk about it on there as well. I do help run the Twitter account on Dreamcast Junkyard as well. Although it's mostly Lewis doing that. So either of those places. I mean, I don't know exactly how it's going to be done yet. I need to obviously weigh up the options. I'm not a big fan of taking money up front for something which isn't made yet. So I want to make sure it's all done and dusted, and basically just people can just then pay for the printing costs, and that'll be it. So if anyone has any sort of interest in doing that, helping me out with that, feel free to contact me. But yeah, there's a few options, but the best way is just to follow me on social media. Okay,
sounds like a plan. Any idea when it's going to be available, roughly? Like an estimate?
Yes. I mean, the guide will be edited fully and updated by the end of August. So, I mean, it's literally going to be a case of me sending it to the printer and getting it back, which will take a weekend. So, it will probably be done early September. I'd imagine early September, mid-September would be the time.
Okay, excellent. And we'll definitely share that on our social media and on the podcast as well when more news arises regarding the launch of the book and how people can get a hold of a physical copy, which I'm very excited about, to be honest. Excellent. So, Mike, before you go, there's always one last question, which is the same for all of my guests.
Yep.
Back in the 90s,
yep.
Especially in the US, SEGA had said that Genesis had blast processing.
Yep.
So my question is, if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why?
What would I add blast processing to?
Obviously something that makes it... Blast processing makes everything more powerful and faster, and so... What would benefit from that?
My PC. My PC. I mean, that's the answer I'm going to give. I mean, the PC is running okay, but I mean, anything more than that, I can actually play some games on it for the first time in 15 years. So...
I can relate to that. Yes. So, yeah, let's get some blast processing added to your PC.
Excellent.
To make it faster. Okay, Mike, anything else you would like to add about the book, about anything you're working on to people listening in?
Not really, other than just, follow Dreamcast Junkyard. I mean, we're in a new era of Junkyard at the current time, so Tom has taken a break from the Junkyard and passed the reins over to Lewis Cox, who is doing a fantastic job at the current time. And there's so many projects from the many members of Junkyard. We've got so many ideas on the table. We are very much like me with the book. We're not the most professional people in the world. We are pretty much, when we can be bothered to do a podcast, we will. But we do listen to all the feedback we get, and we are quite, I think we're quite proud that people do listen to the podcast. I mean, I think we are probably the number one podcast for a Sega console in the UK, so which is fantastic. So yeah, just keep on listening, keep on watching the Dreamcast Junkyard, because we've got some exciting stuff in future.
Definitely. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that as well. And people will be able to get all the links also in the show notes. So all the links to your socials as well, and the Junkyard. So check it out if you want to follow Mike and learn more about the Junkyard and the book. Mike, thank you very much for your time. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
I know this was just a one-time thing, because you said you weren't coming back. So
I scored quite highly though, so I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm quite pleased with that. So
no, it's the other way around. So if you scored high, you'll never coming back. So
fair enough. Okay.
Fair enough. No, thank you very much for coming on the show, and all the best for the book and the Junkyard. And I'm sure we'll see each other and talk to each other soon again.
Indeed.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thanks again to Mike Phelan for coming on the lounge. It's been fun talking about the Dreamcast and learning more about his upcoming guide. For news on the availability of the A to Z of Dreamcast Games, keep your eyes on our socials and be sure to follow the official Twitter account. You'll find the link on the show notes. That's it for this week's episode of the Sega Lounge. Remember to follow our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TheSegaLounge, since it's a great way to not only check out some of my random game streams, but also to watch our live shows in video form. The plan is to do at least one every month. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a great week, stay safe, and enjoy some Sega games. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at The Sega Lounge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.